Welcome, everyone, to the Mile High League Champions. What? Hold on. Start over. Break. Okay, I'm going to start over. Jesus Christ. Welcome, everyone, to the Mile High Champions League weekly podcast. I'm your host, The Commish, and some say he naturally faces magnetic north, and that his sweat can be used to clean precious metals. All we know is that he's called Big Nolski. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, and as you said that, I hadn't really thought about this before. I'm actually sitting facing north. That's how my desk is set up. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like that.
That's why you're the Stig / Big Nolski. That is awesome. The way my desk is set up, I'm facing south. Not exactly magnetic south, but south. So we have the whole world covered except
That's
for the
right.
space in between us. So,
And Ben can
anyways,
cover that.
yeah, and Ben does. He's very geographic like that. So let's first we got Noel's shithead of the week, and then we're gonna go to the preview. Nope, review, then preview. So go ahead, Noel. Who's your shithead?
So this should be pretty obvious, and I know that I think Courtney will agree with this 1,000%. Robert Gronkowski, my friends, for just what the fuck was that? The guy's on the ground, and you see Gronkowski run up. He resets his feet, and then kind of like pulls his torso back to get more momentum, and launches himself into a guy that's on the ground well after the play is over. I know he tried to sort of apologize and say he was frustrated and blah, 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 blah. And it was nice that reportedly Bill Belichick, right after the game, told Sean McDonough, the Buffalo Bills head coach, that was bullshit. But Jesus Christ, like, you don't do that to each other. And the reason why it's more relevant for us is this might not cost Courtney the game, but she certainly needed Gronkowski going forward in the playoffs. So good job, Gronk. This will give you a whole day off to view porn. So good for you.
And spell souffle, the French issue. What would you call that? Delicacy, let's just say. SUEFLAY. Those of you who've ever had or seen the word souffle, you know how far off that is. So let's go into the that's a good one, Noel. And that's Gronk doing that cheap hit was just so dumb. As we alluded to, as I said earlier, I'm in my basement right now recording. Courtney's down here as well. Lincoln, unfortunately, will not be joining us. He is currently asleep because he's a bebe. But Courtney's here, and she just groaned begrudgingly because of Gronk's stupid, just bonehead play. So he deserves shithead of the week, not just for spelling souffle like a moron, but for just doing that stupid shit. So bad on you, Gronk. All right, no, let's go into the review of the week. Nick and Courtney advanced to the semifinals. Let's look at how that happened. Good week all around, actually, in the playoffs. Each one had a pretty good week, but the two winners this week clearly deserved to win. They had beaten their opponents, including yours truly, by a pretty wide margin. So congratulations to Nick and Courtney. Let's start off my game, Noel. Why don't you go ahead and pick apart what you think is necessary, and I'll chime in with my 2 cents as well.
So this was just, I mean, Nick just had across the board, just either at the least, he had good outputs from his players, but most of them were either really good or excellent. So Carson Wentz actually had a relatively down week, but he still got 27.8 points. Samaje Perine, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and also good on me for not checking during the week. Yay. Had an okay game, 13 points. I mean, he's like the third string, I think, running back going into the season in Washington. So there's that. Tyreek Hill, after both Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, after quiet previous weeks, went off. Travis Kelce just had a first half, which was insane. A first quarter, where he had 2 touchdowns alone in that quarter. Tyreek Hill also had 2 touchdowns. So that was in the second half. And Latavius Murray, solid 20 points. Matt Bryant, kicker, but 10 points is pretty good for a kicker. 26 points from his defense, which could have had more if our good friend and garbage time Jesus, not actually Blake Bortles, who was once garbage time Jesus. That is an old school name for Matt Stafford, who did his classic thing of not showing up for the first half and then getting some garbage time points when the game was already completely out of hand. So, good stuff there. Really, what kind of, I think, apart from the 44 points from Tyreek Hill, what kind of hurts you here, Mike, is despite the fact that Josh McCown, who was the AFC Offensive Player of the Week this week, mind you, put up an impressive 40.2 points, he did so by throwing to Knicks' Robbie Anderson, who, again, has come out of nowhere and put up 21 points. So now to your team, Mike, that 40.2 points was by far the star of your team, but you didn't necessarily have a bad week. If Jordan Howard was able to do anything, he ran the ball 13 times for an abysmal 38 yards, caught 1 pass for -5 yards. If he could do anything, as well as Alshon Jeffrey, as we said in the preview last week, Philadelphia has just a treasure of depth at wide receiver and a bunch of explosive weapons that all signed for these kind of like 1-year prove-it deals. So anyone, any week can have a huge week. This was not Alshon Jeffries or Ashlon, whatever, his week. Another great game from Evan Engram, even though he was catching passes from the now benched, again, Geno Smith. And sort of an average game, I guess you'd say, for Melvin Gordon, who only had 21 points against the goddamn Browns. But that game was sort of out of hand, so they just were like, we'll do whatever. Orleans Darkwa, okay, 13. Will Lutz kind of had not a great game. He got some extra points for you, Mike, but he missed one of his field goals, and it was within the 39-yard range, so that actually cost you some points. And then really I think the surprise for me is not that Seattle's offense is anemic or anything, but the Eagles' defense has been pretty good, and they couldn't get a turnover against the Seahawks, and they gave up a lot of yards. So even though they gave up relatively small amount, 24 points, so many yards cost them to the tune of they only got you a total of 5.5 points. So, Mike, this was just, in a sense, just tough matchups for you across the board here, even with a what the hell kind of game from Josh McCown. So, tough loss. I think even 125.7 isn't that's something to shake a stick at. It's just what Nick's team was able to do this week is just you're gonna have a hard time beating that really any time unless you're hitting that almost like record-breaking type of performance of your team. So good job, Nick. Congratulations on advancing. Well, not only making the playoffs in your first year, but now advancing to the next round. So good on that. And Mike, good year from you. Just unfortunately, it's kind of a slow week, which cost you a victory, perhaps.
Yes, sadly so. And good analysis and all. I think that you basically touched on all the high points. All I have to say is, look what you did, you little jerk, to Jordan Howard and Alshon, just and the Eagles defense in the spirit of Christmas and a Christmas classic movie. One thing I wanted to touch on, taking a step back, going to the beginning, I had awarded a lot of different trophies over the last week since the bowl week happened, the end of the regular season, and we started the playoffs. There were a myriad of trophies that needed to be handed out. And so I wanted to share with you all the trophies that have been handed out. So starting with the MVP, MVT of the week, that's you can kind of expect that. A couple things, very interesting things happened. Number one, Josh. Nope. Kenfield. got the EB award in week 11 because he would have beaten everybody else except the person he lost to that week. He lost to the MVT of that week. So he had the number 2 points. MVT had number 1, who he happened to be playing. So Kenfield, unfortunately, is the recipient of the EB award, which has only been handed out, including this time, 7 times in the history of the Mile High Champions League. So it's not a very common award, and I'm sorry to say, Kenfield, that you earned that. Now, the 11-1 God AJ Green Lanterns have been unbelievable this year. They've set records. They've done a tremendous job. Josh has done a tremendous job managing his team. However, he has also earned the only other golden bench ever recorded in the Mile High Champions League history. In the bowl week, his starters scored 87.5 points. His bench, 100.6. So I'm sad to say that was a tough game.
He lost by 100
I
points,
was really tough. Yeah, because Molly was the MVP that week, and so she blew him out of the water. So she handed him a devastating loss to end his perfect season, by the way. And not only that, he unfortunately got the Golden Bench Award as well. So that just sucks. You had a tremendous season, so certainly nothing to be disappointed about, Josh, not at all. The Winner's Circle Trophy obviously handed out to the top 6 teams. Whoever makes the Winner's Circle gets the Winner's Circle Trophy. We have 3 conference champions in the Atlantic Conference. Go figure, it's Josh. Got AJ Green Lanterns going 11-1. The Legend of Lincoln in the Mountain Conference, 7-5, and then America Doomgivers in the Pacific Conference, 8-4. The team with the best record of the season gets awarded the John Elway Trophy, and I think it goes without saying, that goes to Josh, 11-1 this year. There is a new record set, the best single season record in modern times, meaning that the 12-game season, because when we first started, we had a 14-game season. Originally, that was owned by you, Noel, who went 10-2 in 2013, but Josh's 11-1 in 2017 sets the new record for that. So congratulations, Josh, there. And then we have a 4-way tie for season MVT, which means you had the most MVT awards in the regular season. I find it a little bit peculiar that the one person who went 11-1 didn't actually win the season MVP. Typically, the team that does very well tends to blow everyone out week after week because they have a star player or a couple, like they own Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and they're just going off week after week. 4-way tie. Molly, myself, Josh, and Nick all share the season MVT award. So I wanted to say congratulations to all those who won an award this week. Good job to you all. Let's move on to the next game in the review. That would be Courtney's game and Molly's game. Now let's talk about this. Courtney killed Molly by 39 points, 169-130, and both teams had a great week. There's only a couple of real stinkers on both sides. Let's look at Courtney's team first. Russell Wilson, phenomenal, 34 points. He's looking just great. He's probably going to carry her team throughout the playoffs. Number 1 quarterback throughout the 14 weeks the NFL has been going. 13 weeks. He said 13 games, excuse me. We're heading into week 14. He's putting up 33 points per week. That's elite quarterback territory. So well done, Russell. Leonard Fournette had another great week, 22 points. The real stinker of her team was Stephon Diggs, only putting up 6. That's really not that good, especially when you look at her bench, as she just informed me to do, and she's got Derrick Henry riding pine, putting up 37 points. So
yeah, he busted some big runs at the end of that game.
Yeah, he busted a huge, he looks good. His hair's a little bit ridiculous. It looks like there's like a smoke monster trying to escape from the top of his brain, but the performance had nothing to do with that haircut. So it was really phenomenal. Rob Gronkowski did well until he was a douchebag and got suspended for being a moron. Got 25 points. Christian McCaffrey, good game, 17 points. But the star of the week was Marshawn. And his Skittle-fueled mayhem put up 40 points on the week. He had 101 yards. This guy was a monster. So that 40 points definitely put her over the top. Bears D did very well, 18 points, and then her kicker, 7. Molly's team, very good week as well. 20 points from Drew Brees, 35 from Alvin Kamara. That's quite good, even above his average. holy. I've just looked at his picture. He looks stoned as fuck in that. Go take a look at that.
Which one?
Julio Jones,
Kamara?
Alvin Kamara. Yeah, he's done really well. He's the third best running back in the season. He hasn't scored anything less than double digits. In fact, his worst game, 11 points. That's pretty damn good. He's going to be a hot commodity next year. Hot. Considering Molly grabbed him off of free agency, that might be the pick of the season. Julio Jones, coming off such a wonderful 58-point week, has fallen back to earth. I mean, besides last week, Julio Jones has been anything but elite. He's gotten 10, 17, 16, 6, 13, 24, 10, 19, 11, 12, and then 58 points. That's basically like good tight end territory, not elite wide receiver. But to his credit and in his defense, this has not been a wide receiver year, as we've said many, many times on this podcast. Benny Watson, 11 points. DeMarco Murray, 16. I think Derrick Henry stole most of his carries. Devonta Adams, 8 points there. Not really a great showing for him. That's a little bit, about half of his average there, so really not that great. Chargers D, good game. We've always said play whoever's playing against Cleveland, and guess who was? 23 points there. And then Gostkowski, proving again why he's a top-tier kicker, 13 points. So congratulations, Courtney. That is a big win, obviously, taking you on to the next round of the playoffs, which let's get into the next round of the playoffs. It is going. Well, let's look at the first game. Noel, let's tackle this. Pun intended. Nick versus Josh. Take it away.
All right. So this is a battle of obviously two first-year owners here, although Josh was involved last year. I know that. And right off the bat, just looking at the projection, this one is tilted in, believe it or not, Nick's favor, not in just intrepid world beater Josh's favorite here. And I think there's some good reasons there where Carson Wentz, actually, right off the bat, I'm not even sure. Carson Wentz against the Rams defense, which I have, and they've been good, but a lot of that has been because they've played some bad offenses, like last week when they played the Cardinals, quarterbacked by Blaine Gabbert, and he threw not a bunch of picks. He threw some picks, got sacked a bunch. Also, the Rams make most of their bones, if you will, returning kicks and stuff like that. So their defense is susceptible, and Carson Wentz, this is in LA, so this is going to be a good weather game for him. And Goff, another guy who's had a good season. Both these guys are going to be compared to each other for the rest of their careers. And Philadelphia's defense should be better than they were last week. So I think that's kind of a toss-up there. Oh, he got him. I couldn't make room in my roster really last night to try and even pick him up, but Kenyon Drake versus Mark Ingram. And obviously the check mark goes to Josh's column here because Mark Ingram has just been a world beater this season. Kamara's, killing it as far as the whole PPR goes, or game goes from the running back perspective, but Ingram's just eating up the yards. Kenyon Drake had a huge week last week. He's now the feature back with everyone else being hurt in Miami. But, I mean, it's Mark Ingram, so check mark there. Tyreek Hill versus A.J. Green. I'm actually going to do this one a toss-up because Oakland's defense is bad. Their corners are slow. Tyreek Hill is fast. But at the same token, A.J. Green is going against Chicago's terrible pass defense where they don't really have a whole lot of speed at corner either. But I think Chicago tends to play very conservative, so they'll probably double cover him the whole time. As where Tyreek Hill's a threat to score every time he touches the ball. From there, Travis Kelce, again, against that terrible Oakland defense. Against Hunter Henry, who is kind of hit or miss. Obviously, Kelce gets the check mark there, as Effentard also agrees with. Latavius Murray going up against Todd Gurley. I think it's pretty safe to say Todd Gurley there. Samaje Perine is actually projected to get more points than Tariq Cohen, who had an insane punt return for a touchdown last week, which kind of skewed his average because he's been kind of tapering off as the season has gone along. So obviously, I think, again, Effentard got the check mark there, right? Ravens defense against Pittsburgh's offense, which has been playing against some rather bad defenses. So I think that one might be we'll see. I think the Ravens defense will do a little bit better. Plus, the Ravens always play the Steelers hard. No pun intended. What? Panthers defense up against Minnesota's offense. I don't necessarily like this one because the Panthers' pass defense is not really that good. And Case Keenum and company in Minnesota will kill people with screen passes. And that is what they're going to do against Carolina. And also, even though Keenum has a limited arm, he is going to be throwing to some pretty good receivers against, as I said, that not very good secondary. So I, again, agree with Eventard basically for the most part here. Kickers. Matt Bryant's just had a better year so far than Kai Forbath. So I like that there. I think the line here is fairly accurate, but I think this is going to be goddamn close. And I predict this is be one of those games where it's either like a low-scoring grudge match between the two, or a few players just go, like in particular, Tyreek Hill, AJ Green, Travis Kelce, Todd Gurley just all go nuts, and this is a shootout. So I think this is a game to watch out for, not just because it's got AJ Green Lantern with his 11-1 record coming off a sort of meaningless bye week, but this obviously this determines who's going to play in the championship. So good luck to both, and sorry for the cop-out, but I really do think this one's a toss-up.
I agree. I think this is going to be a good game. I think this will, of the two, this one will be the shootout. Nick's on a 4-game winning streak, and he's looking really good. Josh had a really shitty week last week, but that is certainly not characteristic of Josh's team. So I agree actually 100% with your analysis, Noel. I really don't have much to add to that. I do think that the fantasy gods favor Josh for whatever that's worth, but he might have sacrificed something in the interim between bowl week and this week. He's had a lot of time to find, various animals or various vagrants to slaughter, in a temple, all of the Aztecs. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So good luck to both of you this week. Let's go on to the next one. Courtney versus Kenfield. This is uber liberal versus uber Republican.
I'm a progressive.
Courtney's a progressive, as she just says. So let's look at this. I think that just staring at both of these sides here.
Republican thing.
What or would not? I'm sorry.
Oh, I think he would disagree with the uber Republican. I think he would say that he is a conservative.
Oh, my mistake. My mistake, Jacobin. Your mistake indeed. So apparently my comment of uber liberal and uber Republican is complete hogwash. Courtney's progressive and Kenfield is conservative. Let's leave it at that and move on to actual football talk. So both of these teams here, I think, are going to do well this week because both these teams are very good. Looking at Courtney's team first here, she has, I think, a rougher go to start off with just because her team faces more difficult defenses. Now, the counterbalance to that, for example, is the fact that the #1 quarterback, Russell Wilson, is going against the #2 defense, Jacksonville. So that'll be a good, fun game to watch. I still think that Russell Wilson will probably nail close to his projection, 24 points. So that'll certainly help Courtney out. On Kenfield's side, he's got this guy named Tom Brady. Tom Brady. Oh, Tom Brady. Okay. He's extremely good, maybe the greatest of all time, and he's going against a very mediocre Miami defense that Denver sadly couldn't do much against, but I bet he can, as he's done in the past. So, in fact, when he played Miami earlier this season, which he hasn't because he's playing them – no, he did 2 weeks ago, 28.6 points, so he did quite well. So he's projected 25. I think will absolutely nail that. Looking at both of these twos, they have Effentard has a check mark in Tom Brady's box, and I think that I would put it in Tom Brady's box too.
Ew.
Corey's just like, ew. Okay. Yep. Anyways, Game windows aside, I actually do think Tom Brady will do better than Russell Wilson this week. Lead running backs, Leonard Fournette versus Aaron Jones. I think that, hello, who is Aaron Jones? Is he like the third or fourth stringer for Green Bay?
He
I don't even
was
know who
the
that guy
third
is.
stringer coming to the season. I had him for a few weeks after Jamal Williams, who was the backup, got hurt behind Ty Montgomery. And he had some big weeks, but like all of my running backs this year sprained his MCL. So he's back from that. So yeah, but Jamal Williams has been having some good games now that he's back from injury. So who the fuck knows?
Okay, fair enough. I have to give this one to Leonard Fournette. I think, and Effentar does that as well. His projected 23. He's been averaging 23. I think he'll absolutely nail that. He is running against a very tough Seattle defense, so that might bring it down a bit. So he might get in the high teens, low 20s, but even still, I think he's going to easily outperform Aaron Jones, who's projected 12.9, has been averaging 9.8. So hello. Leonard Fournette all the way. Stephon Diggs versus Antonio Brown. Come on. I don't even think we need to discuss this one. It's Antonio Brown. Cameron Brate versus Jason Witten. Obviously, I think Courtney would rather be starting stupid-ass Gronk, but Cameron Brate is certainly not a bad start here. What Cameron Brate does very well is go on hot and cold streaks. Look at his record so far this year. He had one bad game in week 2, then a stretch of good games for tight ends in weeks 3 through 8, a bad month there, weeks 9 through 12, and a good week last week. What is he going to do this week? It might help determine the outcome of this game, actually. Fortunately for Courtney, he's going against Detroit's rather porous secondary. They're 23rd against the tight end position. I think he'll do just fine. Counterbalance to that, however, is Jason Witten, who is not showing his age, but he's no spring chicken either. That may seem like a contradiction in terms, but I don't think that Jason Witten has the same sort of power that he used to. He doesn't have that same separation that he used to. Prior to, let's just say, up until about 2 or 3 years ago, you could expect him to put up Travis Kelce numbers. He would just get in space, and guys would try to tackle him, and they'd bounce off. He had more speed, but he's just not the same guy he used to be. What will certainly help him this week is he's going against the New York Giants' worst defense in the NFL against tight ends. So he's projected 8.4. He's been averaging 9. He'll absolutely nail that. I actually think in the scheme of consistency, neither of these guys really have it. So I think by virtue of looking at these guys, I'm going to agree with Effentar and go with Cameron Brate here. Woo-hoo! Christian McCaffrey versus Alex Collins. I like Christian McCaffrey a lot. The downside to Christian this week is that he's going against Minnesota's very, very tough, second best Vikings defense. Alex Collins is running against a very good as well, Pittsburgh's 10th best run here. So we got 2 good running backs here that I think this one's a toss-up. They put it in Christian McCaffrey's check mark in his general vicinity. I'm just going to say it that way instead. They favor Christian McCaffrey this week, and I would suspect he would outperform Alex Collins as well. But I think the reason why I'm going to just make this completely flat is because Christian's running against the Vikings defense, which Courtney's starting. So even if he has a good week, she's going to get hit on both sides. Christian McCaffrey will score, but then that'll take away from the Vikings defense here. So I'm going to call that one a wash between Christian and Alex because of the kind of superfluous type factors there. Marshawn versus Sterling Shepard, assuming that good old Sterling plays. We are recording this Wednesday night, and he did not practice due to hamstring industry. He's apparently a tycoon of
Industry is always tough.
Yeah, really tough. Business is challenging. Hamstring injury, reporting Dan Graziano, probably a cousin of ours, of ESPN. So it's not entirely sure if he's actually going to play. Kenfield does have backups. He's got DT and Jonathan Stewart. So he's got options. They're not great, but he's got options. In fact, Sterling Shepard and DT and Jonathan Stewart have all been scoring in the mid-11 point something range. So not really great options. Now, Marshawn, that is a great option. He's projected 19.1 points. I think he'll do just fine. He's running against a pretty good KC defense. They're number 11 against the run. But assuming that he's able to keep up the momentum from the last several weeks, the last 4 weeks have been quite good for him. I would expect Marshawn to look more like Marshawn of when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. So I got to put my hat in for Marshawn there. Packers D against Cleveland versus Vikings against Carolina. How many times have we said always start who's playing Cleveland, and that's who the Packers are playing. The Vikings are going up against the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers are pretty good. They're number 12 overall against the Vikings D, so I think the Vikings D is going to struggle this week, especially since the Vikings D overall is only 14th ranked again in the entire NFL. So the middle of the pack defense going against an upper tier offense, I don't see that playing out well. So I got to give my vote of confidence to the Packers. Finally, we have kickers. Both teams have kickers. Both teams kick the ball with kickers, and they kick very well. So I think that after analyzing these teams, I think Courtney will be representing the Mountain Conference in the Mile High Champions League. I think that she's got a lot to like here, and I think that she's got more consistency. Kenfield, however, has not had a disappointing team. I think that with his 8-4 record, he's proven that he can win week in, week out for the most part. So I think that Kenfield's going to give her a run for the money, but when we look back this time next week, we'll see Courtney versus maybe Nick in the Colorado Bowl. So regardless, we have 4 who have never been in the Colorado Bowl. And so it'll be interesting to see who actually the next Mile High champion will be a brand new Mile High champion. So what else, Noldy? What else do you want to talk about with this game here?
The only things I would add here, because I agree with basically everything you said, is Sterling Shepard, if he does start, the only problem with him is that 11.5 number is who the hell knows, because it'll either be less than that or he'll catch, because he's very explosive, or he'll catch like an 80-yard touchdown pass. That'll be his entire game, but that'll be 20-something points. So that he's kind of this weird wild card in this whole situation. Oh yeah, and Cameron Brate has had his best stats when Jameis Winston has played. Those stretch of like 4 games where he was doing pretty poorly was mainly when noted Harvard man Ryan Fitzpatrick was starting. So with
did he go to Harvard?
You didn't hear that? I mean,
no, I didn't hear that 3 times today.
It never comes up ever. I mean, he hasn't been on like every single goddamn sports talk show talking. I mean, okay, but from there, so that should be noted. And then while it is always start the defense that's playing the Browns, I'm a bit more bullish on the Vikings defense this week than I guess Effentard is, because under Mike Zimmer, the Vikings have given the Panthers fits offensively, because part of what last week why they kind of shut down Julio Jones was that was the only game I watched, because it's the only game I could catch out here. Matt Ryan was erratic. So he had Julio Jones open on some plays, but couldn't hit him. And it was oftentimes just short stuff because they were trying to get the ball in Matt Ryan's hands, because the Vikings can put pressure on the passer. And when they were trying to go deeper, their Xavier Rhodes, who was basically on Julio Jones the entire game, was just bumping him off of his routes. And this Carolina Panthers offense doesn't have nearly the amount of firepower on the outside that the Falcons have. Yes, they've got Cam Newton, who will, he'll beat you with his legs, he'll beat you with his arm. But I think that 13 points might be a bit low for a projection. So I think, I could actually see the Vikings doing better against Carolina's offense than the Packers do against even the Browns' terrible offense. So those are my only 2, I guess 3 things to add there. Just because, yeah, as I said, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Sweet. I love hitting nails on the head, because if you hit anywhere else, you probably get your thumb and it hurts like hell. So, okay, cool. Well,
and nailing Tom Brady's box.
Wraps up. Oh, yeah. Your
Oh,
box
yeah.
is mine, Tom. That is your real name, which it is. Actually, he's Tom Brady Jr. Did you know that?
I didn't.
His father, Tom Brady Sr., is a little trivia for you folks out there in Radio Land. Tom Brady Sr. went to Mary Knowles Seminary in Ossining, New York. And I know that random fact because my father went there at the same time as Tom Brady Sr. Tom Brady Sr. Actually ended up dropping out of the missionary, obviously, because
Seminary.
children. If you are a priest, as my father did, he dropped out of becoming, he was a missionary for many years and decided to leave because he wanted children. But Tom Brady Sr. was there when my father was there. He's a couple classes older. I think he was 2 years older than my father. But Tom Brady Sr. likes to call himself the real Tom Brady. And he's actually apparently a really nice guy. And actually, this is what I hear when I've seen in videos and other stuff. I don't get that impression, but apparently Tom Brady of Tom Brady fame, everyone else knows, the football player is actually a really genuinely nice person as well. Perhaps it's his gentle Californian upbringing, and now he lives in nice, happy Boston. Who knows? But apparently Tom Brady Jr. is also a really nice guy.
I've just heard that he comes across as an asshole because obviously during games, like he yelled at Josh McDaniels last week. He is so freaking competitive that, and I can sympathize, maybe not to the level of Tom Brady, obviously, but that during an event, yeah, he's gonna look like an asshole because he's just so competitive. He doesn't shut off. And the only other thing too is that he's so committed to his craft. I read something that he's been known, like his wife will walk in on him and he's fallen asleep at like 2 or 3 in the morning watching game film.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's very intense, and he's very focused on football. But
makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, and I was also going to say Dan Graziano is a New Jersey fella, so you guys actually might be cousins. That's not too far fetched.
Well, yeah, actually, that's perhaps not. Little known fact. All Grazianos come from, we're just going to keep going trivia night here. All Grazianos come from a town in Italy called Avellino, which is just east of Naples. So we're connected somehow. We're very distant relatives in some degree. Now, it may not be, we're maybe like 5th, 6th, or whatever, but all Grazianos are related. So I'm sure if we were to run each other at an ESPN convention and say, you're Graziano, I'm Graziano, we should high five, and it'd be totally cool. So that's it, folks. That is the end of our podcast here. Noel, is there anything else you wanted to add for this evening?
Well, I because I'm with you now that I think the Broncos just need to finish off this tank job and get the best they can. I want to get you all in the holiday spirit. So, oh shit, never mind, it's not working. Oh, 1 second. Wait, I can fix it. All right, here we go.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. In case you didn't recognize it, dear listeners, that was Twisted Sisters, A Twisted Christmas, where they sing, "Oh, Come All Ye Faithful," over the melody of "We're Not Going to Take It." It's ridiculous.
We're not gonna take it.
And awesome, and everything that Christmas music should be, but isn't. Because I think the best Christmas music is goofy Christmas music that's not intended to be goofy. So I guess it's ironically good.
It is. I enjoy it. Now I have it stuck in my head. I'm dancing in my chair here. We're not gonna. Oh, come all ye faithful. Yeah,
we're not gonna take it.
Oh my god! I'm gonna post that on the main page, folks. So if you want to go and listen to that, here comes the YouTube video. So, all right, thank you, Noel. As always, I always appreciate you coming on and do this. By coming on, I mean sitting in your chair facing north.
That's right.
And that's it. So thank you again, Noel. And if you don't mind, please send us out.
Go Broncos.